Hi, this is my review of the Dungeon Under the Mountain, level 9. If you haven't seen my other reviews of the other levels of the Dungeon Under the Mountain, I recommend that you check out the links in the description below. This level is radically different from the others. It feels a bit like a sewer level. I think it also has a bit of a sunken city feel to it. It depends on how you want to describe this level. If you're going to describe a place that is smelly, dirty, dank, then you could consider it more of a sewer level. But if you're going to be describing the corridors, the floors, the statues as majestic perhaps, you could see it as sort of underwater city section of the Dungeon Under the Mountain. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The quality is great. Everything is well organized. You even have bookmarks. All of the information concerning how to use this level is well written and explained. You also have a summary of the entire level divided by quadrants. So you can click on any of these small squares so that it takes you to a particular section. There's also a legend with the symbols that are commonly used in this level. And of course you have the ruled dungeon button that is featured in all of the other levels of the Dungeon Under the Mountain. This allows you to turn the numbers on and off. You can also activate and deactivate the furniture, the grid as well, the teleport areas, the water areas, and I think this is going to be very useful for this level, and I will talk more about that in a few minutes. You can also activate and deactivate the main areas, the secondary areas as well, activate and deactivate the fill, toggle between white and yellow colors, and of course you can activate and deactivate all of the features at the same time. Now let's talk about the level itself. As I said a few moments ago, I think the activating and deactivating feature for the water is going to be very useful if the players perhaps find a way to switch the water on and off. Maybe some sort of drainage system, or maybe it's something magical that makes the water appear and disappear. So this augments or expands the capacity of this level to hide many secrets. Maybe something was hidden under the waters, or pretty much anything could suddenly appear only after the water has been drained. I think it would have been great if they added some sort of separation, perhaps dotted lines, to mark the zones and areas where pools and canals were going through. But I wouldn't consider it too much of a big deal. Now this level should be populated by some amphibious enemies perhaps, and some slimy monsters if you're going to handle it as a sort of sewer level. You can have all sorts of tentacled creatures or some sort of barracuda type enemy moving through the waters. Maybe there are many dangerous and unsafe sections of this dungeon, and the players will have to think twice, even if perhaps they are controlling a player character belonging to a species or race that can breathe underwater, or that is a fairly good swimmer. They will have to think twice before jumping in. Maybe the waters are poisonous, or maybe the waters are under some sort of natural or supernatural effect that keeps them extremely hot or really cold, to the point that the characters could be boiled alive if they just jump in without caution, or perhaps they freeze immediately. They become like ice statues in the water. It could be anything that you can handle depending on whether or not your setting is high fantasy or low fantasy. There could also be tunnels underwater that connect to other rooms. There are some examples in the map, some places that connect to others, and you even have some teleport areas that could take you to zones or rooms that are not accessible otherwise. Maybe you could use one of the pools or wells inside some of the other rooms, because maybe these are actually long underwater tunnels that connect different rooms or zones. I remember an adventure, it was for the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, where there is a very dangerous spot where your player characters can get tricked by an enemy that pretends to be a friendly non-player character, and there is this long underwater zone and you have to move through it, but it's actually it leads to a dead end, so it's an attempt to drown the player characters. You could have some traps like that here. There are also some places that could serve as ambush spots, very narrow places. Maybe the player characters go into these sections and the enemies start attacking from both sides. I also like it that they included several areas that look somewhat ceremonial with statues and magical symbols. You have like a pentagram. So this could be some places of special significance in the level. And what if these statues actually animate and they come alive and they start to chase down the player characters throughout the level? Maybe they are quite strong. And maybe they do not need to swim, of course they are statues, perhaps they are really heavy and they can actually run on the floor underwater through the canals. I also thought that what if this isn't like a canal or pool area? What if this water is somehow suspended magically? Sort of like an extended gelatinous cube, to put it in a way, but it's water. So what if all of the blue areas are actually sections of suspended water and you actually need to activate some sort of device or magical effect that controls the temperature of the water? Maybe you can only go through the water when it's at a temperature that your particular race is accustomed to or able to adapt to or survive within it. So maybe you can regulate or control the temperature so that your player characters can go in it without dying. Maybe, as I said, it's a supernatural effect that completely freezes your player character or it boils your character alive. It could be quite deadly. So that could be one way of handling things. In fact, what if the water is suspended? The canals are actually on the ceiling of the level and you can see all of these dangerous enemies swimming above you and maybe they decide to jump down to attack you. There are so many ways to handle this level because of the different canals and tunnels filled with water, pools, etc. So this is a level to get quite creative and not just handle it as your typical level with water passageways and corridors and places through which the player characters can swim. Maybe they actually need to swim up the water. Maybe one of these circular pool areas are actually like columns that go up several stories and the player characters need to go into this magically suspended column of water and swim upwards. That could be an interesting way to handle things. So what do I think of level 9 of the Dungeon Under the Mountain? This is one of the coolest levels in my opinion. All of the levels are great, but this one offers so many possibilities with the different water corridors and canals, etc. Many ways in which you can handle the effect of water, even if it's below surface level or at surface level or above, way above surface level. There are many ways to handle this underwater section of the Dungeon Under the Mountain. There are many ways to play around with the features of this level. And of course you also have all of those dry rooms to hide all sorts of secrets, treasures, and perhaps even enemies and traps. And because of the different water sections, maybe some parts of this level connect with other levels above or below within the Dungeon Under the Mountain. Well, thanks for watching my review. My next review of the Dungeon Under the Mountain is going to feature level 10, and that is a huge level. It's actually a box set. I will probably have that review ready in a few weeks, so I hope you will watch that too. Once again, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know and see you later.